Hello, everybody, and welcome to our pre-full moon Cancer meditation. And in your chat box, I have alerted you to the actual exact full moon service meditation, which Tuya will be presenting. It starts at 1 o'clock a.m. GMT. So if you need the link, just go into your chat box. The actual full moon is at 2:19 and 32 seconds a.m. I've been having a discussion with Brett here whether we should use the Swiss ephemeris or something produced by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. We have yet to investigate this entirely, but I think that's going to be close enough. And then I've sent most of you a revised program of what we will be doing on July the 5th, at least July the 5th GMT. And it is, we'll be working at, let's see, I think it's going to be, what did I say here? I should really remember this. Thank you for joining our full moon. Okay. Oops. 9:49 p.m. That's when it came in. Okay. There will be two broadcasts on July 5th, one starting at 1 a.m. GMT and the other at 1:45 p.m. GMT. And in the first one, we'll work quite a bit on the background of the triangles work, which is so very necessary at this time. We're having this Pluto opposition to Sirius, and then that will be the preparatory service meditation, and later in the day at 1:45 p.m. GMT there will be a short meditation, and the link, the same link, will be used for both of them. It's a very serious situation we have in the world. We can see how those countries that are having the Capricorn energy are being very stressed at this time, and really all of humanity as well. So we have these oppositions occurring of Pluto to Sirius. It's the second one in this particular year, 2015. There'll be another one on December 9th. And then we also will have the Vega conjunctions. Pluto conjuncting the star Vega, the star of the word of power, of the mantram. And we certainly need those excellent words of power with a spiritual basis to offset the kinds of seductive words, alluring words of glamour, which are luring people into a negative path. So quite a bit is going on. Later on, as I say, on July 2nd, early a.m., and then on July 5th, early a.m., and also in the afternoon GMT. And if you live in the United States or you live in Australia, New Zealand, just check and see whether it's going to be on the 4th or the 6th rather than the 5th. Well, okay, last night we had an excellent presentation. The 2025 initiative group that does webinars similarly offered a webinar last night, and Tuya was presenting a lot of interesting information on the sign Cancer. And maybe I'll pick up on one or two of those things, especially the idea of the chest, the jewel box, and the jewel in the lotus. We see, I build a lighted house and therein dwell. What is this lighted house? Will it be the lighted house of the personality? Will it be the lighted house of the soul? That's another question of the causal body. Will it eventually be the lighted house of the monadic vehicle? All of them are temples, and there are other temples along the way, and they all have to be constructed until they are utterly radiant and then destroyed, releasing the volatile essence, the projected monad, the jiva, into a still greater ring past naught. Even the monadic vehicle is destroyed at one point, and, well, the universe itself becomes a lighted house, and it is sequentially destroyed infinitudinously, time after time, and releasing what we are. We are the ray of the absolute, really, releasing us into absoluteness, which I really doubt that we can appreciate while the universe is occurring cyclically. But that is something remains to be seen along the way. We have the Jofra illustration here, and you notice the grasping hands, the grasping claws and the grasping hands. There's a lot of what we might call the tenacity of holding on to that which is not a principle, the tenacity of holding on to matter. And this is done under the influence, the former influence of the moon, which rules our lunar vehicles, our elemental substance coming from a previous solar system, and we still hold on to that pretty tightly. We have to learn how to release that. I keep on thinking, the Buddha's big message to us, not only self-reliance, but to release and no longer grasp the lower world. So in a way, the illumined sign Taurus carries the message that Cancer needs. Whatever we hold on to, by that very holding, holds us as a prisoner in the lower worlds, which are not the real worlds. So somehow the essence of the human being has to slide out of that place where it is captured. Now we might call in one sense, this treasure chest the place where it is captured. Look at that pearl that is, we see that this oyster is opening up and revealing the pearl, which has been created over many, many millions of years through pain and general irritation. It's somewhat reminiscent of the idea of the jewel in the lotus. It is that which has been, in a sense, created over the duration. But in a way, the jewel in the lotus, or the central fire, is there from the beginning. And it is the ultimate treasure in our treasure chest. And the causal body is that treasure chest in one respect. And eventually, when it is destroyed, that central fire, that jewel in the lotus, is raised up and transferred into the spiritual triad, and eventually back to the crown where it belongs, the crown of the planetary logos on the monadic plane. So it's the jewel in the crown in a certain sense, and we all come from that monadic level, and further we even come from the logoic level and beyond, and our freedom is achieved. I think we can understand that Cancer is a sign in which, if we don't operate properly, it's very difficult to achieve our freedom. But gradually we learn how, under the influence of Neptune, the esoteric and hierarchical ruler, to slip out of that area that is ruled by the previous chain, the moon chain, and by the earlier solar system, slip out and achieve some kind of real liberation into the higher realms. The liberation into, as was discussed last night in Tuya's presentation, liberation into the realm of the triangles. So that was called the lighted triangle in the darkened square, and I recommend that you go to Makara and perhaps attend that, or download it, or look at the video, because it's a great idea. We have to bring the various lighted triangles that we have into the square of substance. The Masonic apron looks like that. It's and the children's drawing of the house, a little triangle above a square, and eventually the flap moves down, and eventually that triangle immerses itself into the darkened square and changes the individuals and and humanities and the planet's pattern of squares into pattern of triangles. That's one of the that's so necessary if our planet is to become a sacred planet and move away from the lesser influence of the Cancerian energy. There are also higher influences because, it goes on and on, but Cancer veils the Christ, we are told, in this very high spiritual hierarchies. So if we have, well, all of us, we will use the sign Cancer. DK said, whenever you have a full moon, you use the energy of the zodiacal energy of that full moon to build into your causal body certain qualities which are related to that particular sign. We need all the signs. It doesn't make any difference in what sign we're born. We have to use these opportunities to understand what really needs to be built into our nature. And when I think of the sign Cancer, the theme of lighting up the elemental substance is so strong, but also the theme of wholeness. There's that marvelous mantra for disciples and initiates in the sign Cancer: the whole is seen as one. And I meditate on that long and hard and seek to become that macrocosmic whole, as we all are. There really is nothing else. The macrocosmic whole is all there is, and we are not to use anymore the idea my soul and thine. So that's a little bit of a warm-up here, and Francis has produced for us some beautiful images. That's the one we'll talk about second. This first one is maybe a little more modest temple. The full moon is there. The crab is there on the front of the three steps, which represent the three aspects of the personality and the ascent. And the scarab, which is the symbol of incarnation, but also has the possibility of winged flight, is rising towards the heart. So let's just see, maybe there's a few things that he said. I would really recommend, that you read his text and study it. Cancer text, yes, here it is. It means, he says, scarab means only begotten. Carl Jung did a lot with the scarab. It was an important symbol in the collective unconscious. It stands, therefore, for birth into incarnation, or in relation to the aspirant, for the new birth. And that's what we're all looking for, to have the second death and to, as a result, have the new birth. So this is taken from the Labors of Hercules. I hope you do have that book, even though Alice Bailey excuse me, was not able really to finish that book. It has some marvelous material in it. So the being was immersed in the ocean of life and passed through the wide Cancerian gate and entered into the temple known as humanity. Think of what a temple is. A temple is a definite, finite enclosure which allows for nurturance and for expression. We can't really call the absolute or the one and only, well, we shouldn't even call it the one and only being. Every time you use the word one, you're creating a finitude, okay? But anyway, the absolute, what else can we do? It's not really a temple because it's infinite, absolutely infinite. So for eons the moon shone through that gate, strengthening its threefold form for many millions of years. And after an endless tide of lives, the moon began to wane, revealing a truer source, shining through its dissipating veils. And the Tibetan tells us that, in fact, it is true that the moon is getting smaller and smaller, and by the seventh round will entirely disappear. Now, we don't know whether that's a seventh chain round relating to our fourth chain, or whether that's more a planetary round, a scheme round. If it is, it'll be a longer time, but eventually the influence of the moon is going to disappear, and all kinds of good results will happen from that. So Neptune is waxing in strength now. The veils of our deeper elemental nature that holds us prisoner is, those veils are being dissipated, and Neptune, that great second ray, ultimately second ray planet, is waxing in strength. And the sixth ray part of it, though, is active. The astral trials begin. The symbol of the soul is immersed in form, but it unfurls its wings, and it begins its upward migration. And that's the energy moving from the solar plexus to the heart. Now, seeing the gate into the spiritual kingdom, our disciple chants aloud, I build a lighted house, and therein dwell. And I think we can see the rising scarab here. The idea is it has to make its way into the spiritual realms, which are ruled by the higher chakras of the human being. We all have to deal with our chakras in this liberating way. The 6 pillars of the temple are in this case, the 6th ray energy of Neptune, and their golden bases represent the 4th ray of harmony through conflict, which rules Cancer through the moon, just as Neptune has a soul on the 6th ray. So the 2 rays of the 2 rulers are represented by the way that the temple is shown. The altar, which represents the higher mind, the seat of the soul, is mirrored. Its mirrored surface reflects and focuses the Buddhic plane down. So we understand that our lower vehicles have to eventually reflect the spiritual triad. We're mounting via the 3 steps into a higher aspect of our nature. The spaces between the pillars of the gates grant passage into the temple of water and earth along 3 axes. So we're talking about the Taurus-Scorpio axis. It's rotated counterclockwise already. And the wide gate into incarnation through Cancer stands behind the disciple who gazes towards us through the Capricornian gate. So this is the Capricornian gate, and Cancer is behind him. And above, the marvelous jewel box of the Pleiades. Now, if you think about the relation there between the jewel box and the Rurik painting, it's very interesting. We do have, how can we say it? We have Pleiades, Cancer, Venus. Venus ruling all the rare and beautiful jewels, Cancer the container, and the heavenly jewel box, perhaps even in the one about whom not may be said, is ruled by the Pleiades. There's so much for, if we really want to go into this. And what I would recommend, if you're really interested, I've done this complete book of the Tibetan Esoteric Astrology. Of course, much evades me, but I've done what I can. And line by line, paragraph by paragraph, trying to interpret what he said there. And if you really have the gumption for some deep study, I would recommend you go to Makara and start working through those videos, which is as complete a job as I could possibly do at this stage of my own understanding. So, anyway, Francis goes on to say that the moon is the esoteric ruler because the axis has rotated, and we have Virgo leading to Pisces, and very interesting idea here. All of these signs related to the moon: Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, the moon falls; Capricorn, the moon's in detriment; Pisces, the moon has a particular relation to water; Cancer is the ruler. Only Aquarius is left out, and this will be important in the future horoscopes of disciples, he tells us. The Pleiades are up there. The eye of the mother illuminates the point around which our universe revolves, so maybe they are 410 light years away, but our particular one about whom not may be said, and there seem to be quite a few of these types of beings, including the galaxy itself. Can't say much, including the great universe itself, about whom not can be said. Anyway, our local one about whom not be said revolves around the Pleiades. This is what we are given to understand. Okay, so that's and just examine carefully, and when you look at the scarab, you will also see the Neptune involved there as well. Just you have to look closely and enlarge the picture. Now, the other drawing is very beautiful. Let's see if I can find it. Well, that's the text. Okay, I think I should. Here it is. Yeah. Okay, now there are 12 pillars, and again we're looking through the gate of Capricorn, and let's just say that Capricorn is our release on the farther end. And each one of these little figures represents the 3 periodical vehicles: the personality, the soul, and finally at the heart of things we have the monad itself. And this is a very beautiful blue here. The hierarchical rulers are found here above each one of the portals of entry, and you can see that the whole thing is really glowing beautifully. We have to make our way into this temple for millions of years. We, the monad who is descending, the monad in extension, the monad in attenuation, whatever you want to call it, the jiva, we are going down into incarnation, and we are passing through various temples. The tabernacle in the wilderness, and then the holy place, which is the soul, and finally the Holy of Holies, which is our monadic temple. And all of them we have to achieve liberation from, but assuming we do our proper work and master the various fields in which we are immersed. So there might be a few things. I mean, Francis has written quite a bit about this. And let's see, this is the texts. Yeah. We're standing before the ancient Cancerian portal that leads to human incarnation. We see the Capricorn gate, the gate into life of those who know no death. And Cancer, the gate into life of those who must know death. And death is the death of consciousness when it is immersed in the heavy form. So the temple is made up of 12 columns and the 12 lintels forming 12 portals. And they're embossed, those lintels are embossed with the symbols of the esoteric rulers. I guess, Aki, I see. Because in Cancer, the esoteric ruler is the same as the hierarchical ruler. It is Neptune. And the six potencies, the astrological axes, what can you call them? I've called them different things. Aries to Libra, the axis of identity, Taurus to Scorpio, the axis of illumination, Gemini to Sagittarius, the axis of, what can we call it, mentation, and Cancer and Capricorn, the axis of initiation or liberation, and we have Leo and Aquarius, which we can call the axis of creativity, both individual creativity and group creativity, and finally the axis of Virgo and Pisces, which eventually is the axis of the individual Christ and the cosmic Christ, and leads to our liberation through the quality of love. So the temple is of ancient design, and it stretches, says Francis, back to the time of individualization, when the substance out of which it is made was fashioned, and began recording a gradual awakening of soul contact. Now, after eons of struggle, its opaque stones have begun to show color and transparency. I think we see that, very beautiful. They're beginning to shine, and the early opacity of those dense substances is being wrought through by the power of the soul. So it's becoming more transparent. It's a lighted house, a temple of light. And Capricorn has a lot to do with light as well. Think about that light theme in both Cancer and Capricorn. I build a lighted house and therein dwell, and then Capricorn, lost am I in light, supernal. And on that light I turn, yet on that light I turn my back. So we're talking about a process of some 21 million years, maybe even 25 million years going on here. And it's going to eventually bring about the liberation of each human being. Not all at the same time. Human beings come from various sources. Some from the earlier solar system, some from the moon chain, some incarnating on our globe. So I would just recommend reading this. Go back to the video and freeze it, I would say, and read it, the words by the Tibetan, the words by Francis. This is a story about the fish gods, and I think the fish gods spawning their creations. The fish gods really are monads. If you really look at what rules the monadic plane, it's not only Virgo, it is Pisces as well. And when they put forth the fish gods, there is a deep journey being occurring by the little units, the incarnating monads. There's so many mysteries having to do with the monads. So, the mysteries are discussed here to a degree, and the unveiled Neptune relates Cancer to no other constellation or sign. For when a man is initiate, he does not react to ordinary feelings, sentiment, or to personality relations as they express themselves in pleasure or pain. These are surmounted, and eventually the watery life of emotional reaction is superseded by the life of the true inclusive love. And I think what we have to do is take our Neptune expression, raise it up from the astral plane, raise it to the love petals of the egoic lotus, raise it to the Buddhic plane, eventually raise it to the monadic plane. The Neptune has a lot to do with the swimming of the monad into the sea of substance, and eventually, when one is like the Christ, we can use Neptune to penetrate into the cosmic astral plane, and our freedom is achieved. So even though this is a sign, Cancer, in a way of great confinement, it is also a sign of liberation. So we thank Francis for his thoughts and the quotations from DK, and for the images especially, and we try to keep these in mind. We review these images maybe once a year, and I think it's quite okay, just to have them in mind, and I'm sure he's quite happy to have people contemplate them, use them to achieve a deeper kind of understanding of the process which is represented by every sign. Okay, friends, so that's kind of a little discussion ahead, and there'll be more, as I say, tonight at 1 o'clock GMT, which is 4 o'clock our time here in Finland. I don't know what time it is for all of you, but maybe it's not too bad, and maybe you can make it. Okay. So here is our meditation, as we know, and these forms come up about once a year, and we try to penetrate more deeply into them. We're really already in the day of safeguarding. We certainly are 12 hours before the actual time of the full moon, and we are receiving the energy and holding it after having approached it for 3 days through the powers of confidence, aspiration, and dedication. And then will come our distributive responsibility. We register, registration of the energies. We work with a sense of expectancy, and finally we have confirmed belief on the physical plane. And we certainly can't forget the physical plane when we're dealing with Cancer, because the energies of the third and the seventh ray are so important for us, and they are the most physical of the rays in a certain respect. So we're dealing with embodiment and the transformation of all that is old, excuse me, and coming from a previous solar system or chain, transformation into the kind of substance that can be irradiated by the energies of this second major solar system. Okay. All right. So enough talk of that kind anyway. And we will enter into the presence of the soul by abstracting our consciousness. We are the soul in incarnation. We try to understand what that really means. We are consciousness facing various fields of experience, but what we are is more essentially the consciousness and the being behind the experience, who is the observer of the experience. So, not the physical nature, not the emotional sentient nature, not the lower mental nature, none of these things. We are being consciousness. And finally, we are pure being itself, but that comes later for us. So as we abstract ourselves from our personal form, we try to get a different idea of our identity altogether. And the next phase of our identity will take us into the sense of the soul and the group soul, the group consciousness, a fluid substance, which is the merging of all of us in consciousness, no matter where we may physically be in our lower form. Our heart is touched, and we can relate to each other in consciousness, and the barriers are down. The barriers which normally would separate us in consciousness one from another, but they are down, and we are merging with each other. And we're merging with the spiritually minded people of the world, the new group of world servers working as souls in their various locations, even though we don't know them personally, many of them. We merge with them in soul, and we have the feeling of touching them, blending with them, and becoming one unity, or recognizing that we are one unity. And we extend that recognition of unity to the men and women of goodwill and their hundreds of thousands, maybe millions really, all over the world. No barriers on the plane of soul. And finally, in our imagination, merging into the one soul of humanity, we realize there is no my soul or thy soul, but only the one soul of humanity, the one consciousness of humanity. And the soul exists whether it's taking incarnation or out of the body, not taking incarnation at the moment. We merge with all souls in the unity. Even if it takes a little time to get that imaginative sense of what's happening there, it's worth the time. To overcome the sense of difference which the personality so often gives. Focus in your heart and find the one soul of humanity. So we're one little group in that great unity. At this time, many groups are working, making their approach to the higher energies and seeking to conduct them. And we work, basically letting our physicality and our emotional sentiency drop below the threshold. We work within the mind, held steady in the light. We work as much upon the plane of soul as we can. We work as much receptive to the inclusive energies of the spiritual triad as much as we can. We have a point of tension in the group mind where we can think together in an enlightened way, And the powers of the soul enter that point of tension, bringing the will aspect into that point of tension on the group mental plane. Seven powers: the will to initiate, the will to unify, the will to evolve, the will to harmonize, the will to act, the will to cause, and the will to express. We have all those aspects of the will, for the mind is deeply related to the will, and our group life is animated by those aspects of the will. We're going to stretch from the mental plane, as it were, at that point of tension, toward the impersonal spheres of the spiritual triad, building each one of us a dual-colored rainbow bridge with the quality of our soul and personality ray, imagining that that bridge passes through the mental permanent atom, which generates the abstract mind, and through the Buddhic permanent atom, generating the vehicle of intuition, and through the Atmic permanent atom, generating the vehicle of spiritual will. Just focus on your two colors. They are before you, they're on the screen. One of the soul, one of the personality. Or if you're not certain, you can always use the major synthetic color indigo. And the many dual strands of the group members come together, and we see the seven-colored rainbow bridge, funnel-like, rising with the narrow end of the funnel moving towards what we envision as the monad, the point of spirit, the blue-white diamond, the 12-fold being on the monadic plane. So our group rainbow bridge is seen in the imagination, and we will project that line of radiant, brilliant light across the funnel-like bridge. The wizard's hat, you know. It's not for nothing, those pointed hats on top of the head. And we will use the second ray word of power, I see the greatest light. And we will all project together, and basically we'll sound the outer Om on the note G, while we interiorly announce in our inner space, I see the greatest light. We have to do two things at the same time, use the voice and use the mind. And DK really has us doing many things at the same time, so we can certainly do two. So I see the greatest light interiorly, and in the outer Om, on the note G. We pause and recognize the connection. As a result of this rapier-like projection, we should be able to access together some influences from the spiritual triad, will, intuition, abstract mind, and also understand something, a little of the purpose of the will aspect, group approach to the purpose of Shambhala, even if it's only a little. We need to be impressed by the divine will. Those energies coming from the Buddhic plane, that's where the majority of ashrams are now found. And these great liberated souls, we call the Masters of the Wisdom, we want to stand with them with solidarity. We offer our gratitude towards them, our salutations, our intention to carry out their plans as much as we can understand what those plans are. So that's what our salutations are for, saluting the members of the Christ, or of Christ's hierarchy, with whom we most closely work, and first the Christ himself. And you can, in your homes, you can say these out loud. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work, M, K, H, and D, K. Salutations to the Master Morya, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, whose ashram is most responsible for preparing for the reappearance of the Christ. Om. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, whose ashram prepares aspirants for initiation. Salutations to your own Master as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Om. Salutations to the entire spiritual hierarchy of our planet. We turn our group attention, our thought, to Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. And with deep reverence and in all humility, we attempt, identified as a group soul, to attune to the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the very center of Shambhala. And we will internally, silently, sound a long Om as we imagine the group, world servers, and really all who can respond, to be imbued with his energy of living purpose. So an internal, long, silent Om. We know, we've been told, that Sanat Kumara can be approached in group formation. It's a big stretch, of course, but as we learn more and more what the spiritual will really is, then in our groups we can approach this great being as his purpose pours through our monadic nature, our triadal nature, into the synthesis petals of our egoic lotus, into the sacrifice petals of our egoic lotus. He is called the Great Sacrifice. We all have to learn, if we would ascend, the meaning of sacrifice. Not easy to learn. But if we would know the will, beginning with the true sacrificial will of the soul, we must function under the first law of soul, the law of sacrifice. Now together as a group, we find ourselves to be as if a brilliant point of light, of love and power. Our personhood is not here. Even the structure of our egoic lotus is compressed, condensed into this point of life especially, but having consciousness and intelligence with it. And the golden pathway extends before us into the heart of the indigo sun. We visualize that. And we are as if above that golden pathway, which will retreat, will shorten on its way into the great indigo sun, where we will find, in this case, the consciousness of Master DK, waiting for us and helping us interpret the great energies of which he is so exemplary and exponent. So the golden pathway shortens and shortens and shortens. And we realize what it is like now in our imagination to be in the heart of this second ray, synthetic, indigo sun. And as we think towards the heavenly men and the grand heavenly man and the great stellar logoi, constellational logoi, we try to act as outposts of the consciousness of Master DK, to absorb somewhat of the understanding that he has. And so our first task will be, as if infused by this type of understanding, to align with the spiritual qualities emanating from the two planetary rulers of the sign Cancer. The moon, the exoteric ruler veiling Vulcan, Neptune or Uranus, and representing the prison of the soul, and the present conditioning of our three lunar lords. So it's a veil. The moon is a veil with those three planets behind it, depending on our stage of evolution. And then beautiful blue Neptune, deepest blue planet, the esoteric ruler opening the emotional nature to the influences of love and compassion. And Neptune, the hierarchical ruler, imbuing the consciousness with buddhi, intuition, and eventually with the power of identification which the monad confers, the oneness. So first we look at the moon, the power of the moon. It's rather a negative power at this time, pulling us backwards. It is the mother of the form, but really behind it, Vulcan, Neptune, or Uranus, depending on whether we are physically, emotionally, or mentally polarized. And it conveys the ability to build the form in such a way that these forms of our personality might prove fit to receive, contain, and radiate the light of the soul, the love of the soul, eventually power of the soul. The moon is very close in space, relatively, and the lunar vehicles are very close to us. But these lunar vehicles have to be stimulated. The physicality must be stimulated by the planet of will, Vulcan. Emotional sensitivity by Neptune. Brilliant mind by Uranus. So we build towards the power of transfiguration, which is achieved in Aquarius, where the moon veils all three of these planets. So we're building the lighted house of the personality as well as the interior lighted house. And where do our groups, the ones we work with, most need these three energies to change the elemental nature of the moon into something far more receptive to the higher energies? Just where is the need? Examine your groups. Really, of course, the need is triple, is it not? It's, we need all three, but maybe in the groups with which you are working, you find that perhaps one is most important. So let's release in imagination these three energies of will, of sensitivity, and of brilliance into our groups and see some positive change taking place. Because we all have to improve. And these three vehicles, this is what we have to work in these lower worlds. But if they are nourished by the three energies the moon usually veils, then there will be the necessary improvement. So we cannot dismiss the physical being of the non-sacred planets. The moon rules the dense outer form. Of course, in a sense, the personality as a whole is the dense outer form, but we have to improve it to the point of transfiguration. It may take a while, and then the lighted house really will be lighted. Then together, under the influence of Master DK's mind, we visualize that beautiful blue planet, Neptune, in relation to Cancer, conveying the power to refine, sensitize, and calm the astral body, rendering it sensitive to the love and compassion of the Buddhic plane. The elevated Neptune is a very beautiful energy. It's the energy of the Christ in many ways, who is regarded as Neptune, the first initiator. It's an energy which is present in those who have the love of the heart, the goodwill, which is love in action. It's present in those who have further developed the Christ-like love, which is so mysterious, just as Neptune is mysterious. So look at that beautiful blue planet in your imagination. It's really a deeper blue than Uranus, which has admixture of green, interestingly. And where are our groups most in need of the Neptunian qualities? We're going to visualize ourselves imbued with those Neptunian qualities: sensitivity, compassion, love, pervasion, boundlessness, the ability to enter others beyond their boundaries, just as the Christ had. We're going to receive from Neptune these qualities: love and compassion, which our groups certainly can use. So often the disciples of the world have proven examples of wrong human relations, and this ability to really see into and understand and intuit the life of others will help so much. And so we're going to sound on the note G, a second ray note, the pervasion of Neptune through us, through our heart, and into our groups, enriched by this Neptunian energy. It's not just glamour and illusion with Neptune. Very, very high ability to register what is often hidden. We know that the advanced Cancerian types can do this. Neptune is helping them perceive the many parts of the whole as one thing, breaking down the boundaries. So we go even further into the transcendental power of Neptune as its hierarchical ruler, and we all of us attempt to attune with Neptune's power to reveal the all-pervading presence of God. At least our planetary logos and later our solar logos, the all-pervading presence of God in matter form, and its ability to promote complete identification with the heart of life within the form. Its ability of Neptune to promote complete identification with the heart of life within the form. Throughout the cosmic physical plane. And in this case, Neptune is in touch, or brings forward the energy of the monad, the spirit which is one, So somehow this art of identification promoted by Neptune. And so it can be said the whole is seen as one. And all are included and no one escapes from this wholeness. And beyond difference is the sameness of identification in the spirit aspect. And so we try to be the recipients of this realization and carry it in a saving manner into our groups and into all those we touch, or whose lives can be touched by us and by our groups. The saving power of the monad, seeing that all are indeed one. And we receive and distribute this energy. And when you go through the day and you walk here and there and think of this and that, somehow sense this all-pervading oneness, which a real reception of the higher part of Neptune energy will confer. Of course, in a way, Neptune rules the solar flames, and so it leads right to the sun, and especially the heart of our sun, the soul nature of our sun, in which we as monads inhere. We are that which finds its home within the sun. And Neptune, as it reveals to us the monad and eventually the cosmic astral plane, will reveal to us the heart of the sun. This begins at the second initiation, but goes on at the fourth, the sixth, and beyond. So we are all points of solar love, whatever our rays may be, because our God is a consuming fire of love. He's a heart center and a local cosmic logos. And we all partake of the nature of heart. Sometimes we lose that orientation, but get involved in lesser identifications, but ultimately we're in that great indigo heart. And lately some of you have been seeing it, the Jupiter and Venus conjunction. Amazing. Some call it the Star of Bethlehem. These two great second-ray planets, second ray on one level or another of their expression, so intimately related to our solar logos, like a triangle. Our solar logos, heart of the sun, Venus with its ultimately second-ray monad, Jupiter with its second-ray soul. There's a great love counterbalancing much of the horror that's going on, and through the triangles network we need to send this love, take advantage of this amazing conjunction, and feel ourselves imbued by those solar powers, especially the heart of the sun, our soul imbued by the heart of the sun, our monad as well, which is 12-fold, and on, finally understanding something of the heart of the sun. Then we move into the heavens and see actually a quite dim constellation the way it looks now. It probably looked brighter to us in the previous solar system. But it's called the light within the form, the light of Cancer. This is the diffused light of substance itself, the dark light of matter, after which we have many scientists in pursuit. And it's a light awaiting the stimulation coming from the soul light. So the lighted triangle in the darkened square, as was the theme of last night's video. Raising up the dark light of matter until it truly shines. And that's one of the, well, all the three planets veiled by the moon can do that. And Vulcan is one of the most luminous, being so close to the sun. And the other two synthesizing planets will change the radiation of the dark light of matter into true radiation, as must be achieved in this second solar system. The light within the form. And may we all learn to somehow evoke that light within our own form, our group forms, within humanity. We need this dark light to shine if we're going to be light bearers, whoever we speak to, whoever we encounter. Help the light within the form to shine. So that, given these rays of manifestation, the light may be manifest. The light, which in this case is, we're relating it to the second aspect as well as the third, can enter the dark light and stimulate it and anchor the higher light in the dark light and change its radiation altogether. So there is the constellation Cancer, the crab. And for all of us the task is the same, whether in our own case or in the case of those we assist. I build a lighted house, and therein dwell. Whichever temple we envision, whether the tabernacle in the wilderness of our personality or the holy place of our soul, or the Holy of Holies, I build a lighted house, and therein dwell. And how are we doing that? How are we actually doing that? That's what we have to ask ourselves now. How the quality of life would surely change if we, that unit of being, that extension of the monad, dwelled always in the lighted house, on whatever level that lighted house occurred. A different way of life. How actually will we go about building this lighted house? What will our materials be? Lighted deeds, lighted feelings, lighted thoughts. From our own homes where we externally live, into our vehicles, into our groups, into our causal bodies, and the egoic lotuses of the group, because we are responsible to each other in terms of soul. The lighted egoic groups, and eventually the 12-fold radiance of the monad. It lies far off for us yet, but we're on our way. The third of our individual lighted houses, the temple of Ezekiel. I build a lighted house, and therein dwell. How much light can our temples contain? Certainly more than now. And when the light content is sufficient, and the love content, and the sacrificial will content, then the temple will be destroyed, and a new lighted house will be our objective. So let us see if we can carry the light. So many of us are second-ray souls, the ray of the light bearer, or second-ray monads. Carry the light, radiate the light, improve the condition of others and ourselves through this radiatory quality, which one day will be the light sublime. So let the dark light of matter be irradiated by the higher forms of light, so that it too may shine forth And you saw in Francis's illustration that the Pleiades were there. This is the hub of our local wheel, the hub of our local one about whom naught may be said. It's such a generic title, of course. It refers to many ascending beings, but our local one about whom naught may be said, the jewel box. So from the Pleiades, like a jewel, in the heart within the head of the one about whom naught may be said, and passing through one of the 12 lotus petals, each one of them made of a constellation of the zodiac, so through the Cancerian lotus petal. And carried forth, well, the dragon may be involved, a seventh ray constellation in the one about whom naught may be said, but for sure our local chakra of the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one, the energy enters then, and it finds its way to the heart center, which is our sun, our solar logos really. And then out energies, particularly in this case of the 3rd and 7th ray, creating spiritual manifestation, moving into our chain. The moon is really dead, but it will, the lunar lord is helping to supervise our planetary development, so to our planetary, well, it's globe, let's say, and involving Saturn and Uranus, the 3rd and the 7th ray, you see, and our Earth, the 3rd ray, and passing through the monad of each one of us as that monad attempts to manifest the higher energies on the dense physical plane and all the subsequent rising planes, the 3rd and the 7th ray needed. Into the hierarchy where our souls are found, our egoic lotuses in a sense, our membership in the ashram through the Christ, and through the ashram with which you either know yourself to be affiliated or believe yourself to be affiliated. These energies of Cancer and of the 3rd and 7th ray and of Vulcan and Neptune and Uranus, but especially Neptune, all the way down, entering our heart in the head center, our heart center, and our solar plexus center, all the way from the Pleiades. Pleiades, Cancer, Venus, and Neptune, of course, is the higher octave of Venus, so it's involved as well. A great perception which allows us to see the wholeness of things in divine compassion, heart to heart, without barriers of any kind. So as the full moon approaches, 2:19:32 a.m., if we're in a position to be awake, then we just feel into that wholeness. And don't let any content of consciousness, don't let any human being, any living being, escape the wholeness which you begin to feel. Never outside of this wholeness. The whole is seen as one. And as the house is built in light, it will lead to the realization of the whole. As Master DK says, the macrocosmic whole is all there is. Let the group perceive that whole and then no longer use the thought, my soul and thine. So a great sensitivity overtakes us at this time. Think about the Dalai Lama. His birthday is coming up. He's 80. The Buddha died at 80, but the Dalai Lama said he's going to go on living into his hundreds. Well, we can only hope. But for him, the whole is certainly seen as one, and there is the great Bodhisattva impulse under Neptune. Cancer is his sun sign. And all initiates can use the esoteric and hierarchical planets there. For their sun sign in Libra, by many charts, is his rising sign with such a strong Venus, but good for social relations and bringing compassion into manifestation. So there's a little more time. It's about 11:30 here, 11:27, and let's see, the 11:27, 8:27. So 8:27 to 2. What did I say it was? 2:19. So another 6 hours or so. The full moon. So if you're going to sleep, try to dream in an inclusive way. Use Neptune, and if you're staying awake, become ever more sensitive to the gathering wholeness which reveals all beings as one being. So what we'll do now to close our meditation is we will look at humanity. Maybe the trouble spots of the world, there are so many, and somehow each one of us send on 3 ohms some Cancerian, Neptunian corrective energy into that area so that there can be improvement and the oneness of humanity may become an accomplished fact. So look over the human race. Choose an area which needs this Cancerian energy to demonstrate that all members of the human race are one great spiritual family. And pour that energy into those troubled areas and see the unity, the oneness occurring. Now we'll all say the great invocation, and say it aloud in your home. You're on mute, you know, and that's okay. realizing we are really embodying a word of light and power here, a word of power. That great hierarchy, which is almost on the point of liberation on the cosmic logoic plane, said to be veiling the Christ. What we need increasingly through our soul nature and our personality nature, we need the unveiled Christ. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Thank you, friends. Remember to, whichever way you do it, in your own groups or wherever are joining us for the broadcast, which the address is in the chat box there, so you can just copy it and join us. 2, 19, and 32 seconds GMT, a little less than 6 hours from now. And then on the 5th, we'll have 2 Pluto opposed Sirius meditations. One will be longer and will give background and so forth. And that's the one that starts at 1 a.m. GMT on the 5th. And then at 1:45 p.m. we'll have the actual meditation leading right to the exact moment of the opposition. But of course the opposition lasts really a long time, so it's those are slow-moving bodies, so basically we're, in a sense, we're already in it, and we'll work with the triangles. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll get this out to you as soon as we can if you want to use this pre-full moon meditation for any purpose, for instance, even during the distribution phase later. So we'll mail it to you as soon as we have it prepared. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Many blessings, and have a great Cancer full moon meditation, however you're doing it and wherever you are doing it. Okay, bye-bye. See you.